Hello, welcome to an episode of Zero-Duality. And on this episode, we look into whether a radical mutation or evolution through time can resolve for conflict more effectively. So this is a return to our This or That series. And so, we begin with, first, evolution through time and knowledge. So we can see, according to the experts, the human being has evolved through time. Over centuries and millennia, the primate was able to, for some reason, evolve into what we are today, the Homo sapien. And the Homo sapien has a distinct ability to communicate using symbolic means, language, writing, motion picture, art, and so on. As well as the distinguishment of being continuously at war over such symbolic attribution. And as well as having the distinguishment of the neurotic, day-to-day experience of the conflict between the me, and the you, the us, and the them, and so on. And so, we find that evolution has led to this point here, which comes along with the distinguishment of being a species which can utilize and create technology, can create tools to fasten for objectives more readily, more easily, like being able to communicate through digital networks. So evolution has distinguished this species, the human being, from all other species on this planet. And throughout the same period of time that the human being has evolved, other species have more or less evolved to adapt to changes environmentally, but never have other species been able to come upon science, so on. And so, the human being has gotten to this point here where evolution through knowledge and time is the status quo. The world will come to peace through knowledge and time. The truth about the UFOs will come about through knowledge or time. World hunger will end through knowledge or time. Life will become easier through knowledge or time. Inner satisfaction will come about through knowledge or time, and so on. Those are a few examples. A few examples that stand out to me on a day-to-day basis, but maybe not for everybody. There are many myriad of other examples that depend on what? Knowledge and time. And at the same time, the human being is ever more fractured, seemingly so by its technological advancements, between developing nations and nations who are far more technologically advanced. weapons that are as lethal as that in Hollywood motion pictures, ones that can bring about global destruction. Communication at such a fast pace that insulates groups based on ideological perspective, meaning logic born out of an idea, which then feeds back and reinforces an idea. And myth and tradition, which has been handed down from generation through generation, knowledge and time, still being the source of conflict despite all of our advancements in understanding the fundamental laws of nature. Still being what is reinforced and divides between secular and non-secular, and all the other divisions of which one can conjure up. One can ask an AI, please give me all of the divisions which exist within mankind. And so, well, knowledge based on time and knowledge, right? Evolution based on time and knowledge be the solution to resolve for conflict both inwardly and outwardly. Evolution based on knowledge and time suggests that we have enough time, that something like global warming is not going to be of such a problem in the same course of time in which we come to know what the solution will be. That resources which are non-renewable, which provide energy to our daily lives, will not run out during the time of which we come to know how it is conflict will be resolved. That global tensions based on trade, based on ethnic, cultural, and religious conflict will not erupt into a nuclear weapon showdown during the time of which we come to know what the resolution to inner and outer conflict will be. So rather, is a radical mutation that of which is necessary to resolve for conflict in a way of which knowledge and time creates for and does not resolve for. All right, you following me here? Knowledge and time is what is the basis for all separation in any direction, in any facet. Now, obviously, knowledge is required in order to do certain things, right? Now, knowledge can resolve for, let's say, providing health care to someone who is wounded. It'd be nice to know how to do that, right? But knowledge doesn't seem to be able to solve for the problem that providing health care costs money. And so knowledge has created, right, because knowledge is required in order for money to retain its symbolic value. and for money to be a trading tool, or a tool of which creates for interconnection and interdependence, right, which glues society together and regulates it. Knowledge doesn't seem to resolve for problems of which knowledge creates for. And that's one example. But we're not here to provide examples, provide analysis, provide opinion. We're here to find whether a radical mutation as to the insight of the root of all separation at an instant, right? Not dependent on time, not dependent on what one knows, what one believes, what one cares about, what one's background is, right? But rather is a radical mutation which can bring about a natural intelligence, one of which most other species on this planet utilize on a day-to-day basis. The capacity to observe directly, the capacity to live within one's means. Now, when living within one's means is mentioned, usually the common attribution to that statement is in regards to money. So one could see how quickly, how shaped, how conditioned one's day-to-day basis is, and how there is seemingly no way out of it, realistically. Realistically, there's no way out of it. Having to fit into society exactly how it is. Despite all the myriad of different manners of which the human being has constructed society, a communist society, a capitalist society, a democratic society, a authoritarian society, so on and so on. A radical mutation is one which is difficult to take place because of how society is structured, based on knowledge and time. So, what can one do to radically mutate? What action is there that is not based on knowledge or time, and at the same time is not in conflict with whatever society structure may be? You see, because one has to be intelligent. You know, intelligence is not a rebellion which utilizes either violence or nefarious means to cultivate a separate society, of which then that society becomes the status quo and is the same process of evolution through knowledge and time. And so, an action that is not dependent on knowledge or time is that of the brain's function in attention. The brain can we not see, record, and then store into memory, and then reflect back what is recorded. Is it possible to live on a day-to-day basis and record only when necessary? and is recording only when necessary is skill, which is honed through the insight as to thought's limitation. You see, which is fundamentally different than gathering more knowledge, accumulating more knowledge, comparing knowledge. But rather, that knowledge is limited to, well, that's for one to discover for oneself. Because such an action has to have a physical property, action. A sense of resolution, a sense of ease, a sense of integrity, and a sense of joy, of which many other species, such as the dog, seems to be able to access on any given day.